Afterwards, I come up to this little man. Quick on his feet, so they say. Those legs just aren't long enough, damn it. The boss of JJ Day has made a shocking revelation. He named the 5 criminals he despised the most, who, nevertheless, came out on top, and why? The real reason for the competition is shocking. At long last, the Memphis Street King has spoken. Jonathan Day, better known by his stage name JJ D-Boss, is a major player in the world of underground street racing. Not only is he notorious for his daring stunts, but also for the roar of the motors and the haze of the highways. He comes from a complicated family and a strong family history. After serving 8 years of his sentence in federal prison, JJ became a renowned member of the Memphis Street Outlaws. Nevertheless, he refused to let this aspect of his life limit him. Rather, he turned his love of racing into a prosperous business. When JJ Daw showing off more than simply fast automobiles, Boss made an appearance on TV with Memphis Street Outlaws. Loyalty, family, and Memphis's distinctive street racing culture were prominent themes throughout the play. Precious Cooper, Tricia, and Doughboy were all part of JJ's outstanding cast, which contributed to the show's fascinating performance. And authentic. Lately, JJ has been quite quiet. After a string of notable events, including a serious accident and a ban from a prominent dragway, his fans are understandably wondering what has been going on with him. His unexpected departure has sparked speculation, and speculation has been fueled by the absence of communication. This time, JJ isn't holding back. He's back now. Everything from the behind-the-scenes turmoil to the dangerous collisions, and the racers who might have betrayed him is fair game for him to discuss. Indeed, he has endured both on. Now that he's off the track, JJ Day Boss can share his story. With the head of Memphis taking a fresh approach, the engines have turned back on, and the spotlight has returned. More than just a return to form, JJ Day Boss is revealing a previously unseen facet of his character. First, let's examine JJ Day Boss's shaky record before we get into his fight with others. The troubled history of JJ D Boss. Jonathan Day, better known as JJ D Boss, has been through a lot, both in real life and as a drag performer. As a child, he participated in street races in Memphis, Tennessee. Served as much more than a pastime. Living that way was the norm. The daring, speed-seeking, and risk-taking JJ has been renowned for since he was a kid has never faded. He possessed both the racing spirit and the determination to succeed in a difficult setting. His relentless drive for success, however, caused problems, and he spent 8 years in prison for offenses connected to his lifestyle of street racing, an era that profoundly affected his subsequent life. The time JJ spent behind bars did not deter him. On the contrary, he made the most of his time in prison by planning for the future. On his way out, he didn't merely go back to his previous ways. He gambled it all. Not only did JJ become famous in the underground drag racing scene, but he also brought Memphis international attention and formed a tight-knit circle of friends. The subsequent appearance on Street Outlaws Memphis catapulted him to stardom on a national scale. But as JJ shot to stardom, his reputation began to take a hit. When JJ and his crew were filming in Memphis in 2017, racing insiders Chad and Jenny Larkin accused them of plotting a violent assault on race day. According to the Lens, JJ was involved in instigating the violence that led to wounds and mental distress. Their response was to file a $10 million lawsuit against Pilgrim Studios, Discovery Channel, and JJ, alleging that all three were involved in the incident. In addition to painting JJ as a street racer, the lawsuit implicated him in a high-profile controversy. While dealing with the case, JJ also had to address other scandals that had a negative impact on his reputation. Although arguments between rival racers are common, the incident between JJ and Chris "Block" Gordon in Casper, Wyoming, escalated into violence. The two's relationship deteriorated during a race. Allegedly, JJ landed an unexpected punch on Block. Gordon scolded JJ for the unexpected assault, which shocked many in the street racing community. As a result of the incident, JJ was seen as more unpredictable and less of a competitor. In addition to causing disputes and legal trouble, JJ's obsession with speed has also caused major accidents that almost killed people. Tragically, JJ and Trisha were engaged in an accident in January 2022 while filming America's List. At high speed, both racers lost control of their vehicles, leading to JJ's car tumbling over and Trisha's car crashing into barriers. Trisha sustained serious injuries and had ended up in the hospital. According to eyewitnesses, JJ showed a side of himself that his fans seldom see. He rushed to her rescue first, even though he was injured. In 2023, JJ tried his hand at a daring stunt display at the world-famous Darlington Dragway. But everything went horribly wrong during the stunt, leading to chaos and the World Drag Racing Alliance, WD, banning JJ from future events. Despite his best efforts, the stunt's intended effect of shocking the crowd backfired, severely damaging his reputation. However, how true is the relationship for Chris "Block" Gordon and JJ DeBoss? To discover more, continue watching. Their animosity escalated into something more personal. Match between JJ DeBoss and Chris "Block" Gordon. In the cutthroat world of street racing, conflicts like the one between Chris and JJ DeBoss are commonplace. Gordon stopped. Since they had a common history in street racing, they first treated one another with respect. Chris brought his self-assurance and competitive drive to the racing world, while JJ built his crew in Memphis around loyalty and family. At first, it appeared like they could compete side by side with mutual respect. After all, they were just two competitors looking to show off their skills. Street racing was their lifeblood, and they both loved the independence that came with competing outside of sanctioned raceways. But as time goes by, their dynamic changed locations. Block was not shy in expressing his disapproval of JJ, who was becoming more and more influential within the Street Outlaws community. Remarks, arguments, and mounting annoyance started to subtly escalate the tension between them. The critical moment arrived when Block raised severe concerns about the legitimacy of JJ's vehicle engine, a charge that carries significant weight in the street racing community. JJ, who is notoriously protective of his team and their reputation, found this offensive. When they ran into each other again, JJ's reaction to Block's remarks led him to punch, and the argument quickly escalated. Right now, it was one of the most talked about events in Street Outlaws history, and went online like wildfire. As far as JJ was concerned, Block had gone too far, so he was standing up for his squad. During this time, Block accused JJ of being too dramatic and a coward. The audience was split along ideological lines. While some believed JJ was merely trying to shield his loved ones, teammates, and honor from harm, others felt he had allowed his emotions to cloud his judgment. It was clear that JJ and Block's friendship had ended, but there were plenty of talks about it on social media. From that point on, the two parties involved have not made amends. Now that they've made their rivalry public, it's also personal. They are still racing, but now they're on separate courses. Never again will they be able to race as teammates due to the lingering enmity. What follows is an examination of the surprising consequences of the split between Chad and Jenny Larkin and JJ DeBoss. What happened to produce the rift that had once bound them? The rift that developed between Chad Larkin and Jenny Larkin and JJ DeBoss. Exciting thrills, close calls, and fierce competitions abound in street racing. The conflict between J.J. Deos, Chad, and Jenny Larkin was one of the most dramatic events that has ever happened. The Larkins viewed it as an exciting opportunity at first, but the messy and unpleasant aftermath harmed them professionally, emotionally, and physically. The Larkins, Chad and Jenny, were resolute and ready to prove themselves when they arrived in Memphis. On their own. They were confident in themselves, excited to compete, and ready to take on the challenge. They were welcomed by J.J. DeBoss, a renowned figure in the Memphis racing community. It appeared to be a great match at first. The Larkins were known for their exceptional racing skills, which J.J. greatly respected. Energetic, competitive, and thrilling vibes pervaded the atmosphere. However, problems were simmering under the surface. Things started to shift while Street Outlaws, Memphis was filming. It began to seem like the Memphis crew was picking on the Larkins. Their assumption was that JJ was endorsing mind games or strategies to induce nervousness and stress in the lead-up to races. The Memphis squad was well known for their meticulous planning meetings before races, as JJ called them. On the other hand, the Larkins started to sense that they were being encircled. A physical altercation broke out in 2017 during a race event in Memphis as tensions rose. What started off as a contest regarding automobiles became a more critical issue. Anger and intense feelings were present. The Larkins said that JJ and his group attacked them. A protracted court battle ensued once the incident became public knowledge. The focus shifted beyond heart beating because of the depth of the hurt and the involvement of personal feelings. During a very emotional moment, the occurrence happened, as JJ explained. In his mind, it was nothing out of the ordinary for the notoriously high-energy street racing culture. Jenny and Chad, on the other hand, had different opinions. They were disappointed, angry, and disrespected. There has been no improvement in their relationship since then. Their once great potential as a couple is now completely gone. These lenses are sidestepped Memphis and made new acquaintances for JJ. Their potential powerful alliance devolved into an embarrassing public scandal. Both of them will always remember it. There was a rift between JJ DeBoss and Axman. If Axman and JJ DeBoss were to form a tight-knit group of friends rooted in a love of street racing and a deep understanding of one another. They were both competitive people who valued attributes like skill, determination, and the rush that comes from winning. At first, it appeared like they would be a great team since Axman supplied power and a formidable presence to the track, while JJ provided direction and a firm groundwork with their television series Street Outlaws, Memphis, and No Prep Kings. Their romance started off strong. JJ respected Axman for his dependable and forceful manner. According to Axman, JJ was the one who made it possible for racers to demonstrate their abilities, especially in street-style races where resilience was key. Passionately racing, not only for money, but also for glory and to make an impression, was something they were both dedicated to. As a unit, they energized the squad and won over the crowd. It looked like a remarkable adventure was about to begin. Problems began to emerge as time went on. The issues did not emerge out of thin air, but rather grew with each choice taken. The No Prep King series has grown with the addition of efforts to achieve success were also heightened. Focused on getting things done, JJ began making tough choices about who to prioritize. At this point, hostilities with the Axemen started. Many started to question when Axe Lady, a female racer with ties to Axemen, was demoted. Fans. According to those in the know, JJ began to show favoritism, picking his friends' racers over those who were performing better. People voiced their concerns on Reddit and other sites, accusing JJ of favoring his favorite players by altering the rules based on race. The Axemen who thought that individuals should be treated equitably according to their capacities, did not keep quiet. Everyone could see the tension building up beneath the surface. They were no longer able to communicate with one another since the link that had bound them began to disintegrate. Justifications offered by JJ for his decisions included the necessity to rely on, and the pressure he was under to win, trustworthy racers and mechanics in times of need. But to Axemen and many of their followers, it appeared as though domination was replacing loyalty. The icy dynamic between JJ the Boss and the Memphis veterans was one of the most shocking interactions to spectators. Nevertheless, where did things go wrong? As we travel? In the beginning of Street Outlaws Memphis, there was JJ the Boss and the Memphis veterans he had left behind. The boss of JJ's day came up with an original idea. More than a racing squad, it was more like a family. He rallied a group of serious Memphis racers who had been competing in street races for years prior to the advent of television. These seasoned drivers were longtime friends of JJ's and were instrumental in building the Memphis Street Outlaws franchise. They had unforgettable experiences together. In the presence of supporters, things inside the gang began to change, though, as the performance progressed and JJ's goals changed. At first, everyone in the squad was really dedicated and close. With JJ at the helm, everyone was doing their part. Precious Cooper and Doughboy were able to take use of the possibilities he gave them to highlight their abilities. The squad went on to win races, gain fame, and a large fan base because of it. The enthusiasm and unity of the Memphis ensemble drew so many fans. But problems began to develop in the background as time went on. Increases in the number of JJ's. As members of his family, including his wife Tricia and other close acquaintances, began to receive attention, circumstances began to shift. After years of dedicated service, several of the longtime Memphis drivers started to feel neglected by JJ. Although they were not forcibly removed, their racing prospects were severely limited. The audience witnessed this start to question and change. They wanted to know why the initial drivers from Memphis weren't receiving more attention, and why members of the family were. JJ expressed his desire for a reliable team that could be easily managed and performed admirably when pressure was applied. The strongest team, in his opinion, consists of members of the same family. Some people could see the logic behind his choice, while others took it as a way to quietly thank the people who had helped him achieve his success. Everyone was suddenly excluded, including the seasoned team members who had put so much into the group. Members of the previous crew began to drift apart over time. In an effort to avoid confrontation, some chose to keep their distance, which left them feeling ignored. Silence, rather than a violent argument or major aftermath, was the most difficult aspect. After years of collaborating on races, they eventually became simply a recollection devoid of any discernible change or justification. However, this is far from the only connection that has cooled. Some feuds have progressed to the feuding stages. A rivalry between the 405 crew and JJ the Boss. Even if JJ the Boss and a major 405 crew opponent were at odds. Start with discord, but more so with divergent racing philosophies, styles, and approaches. As a child, JJ lived on the terrible streets of Memphis, where getting even was the only rule. His unrefined approach to street racing brought him fame. But in the wider realm of street criminals, his strategy was met with mixed opinions. The 405 crew racers in particular began to show signs of strain at this point. They were notoriously organized and fiercely competitive. The 405 crew put a premium on following the rules, being fair, and being consistent in their drag racing. In order to keep their rhythm in their races, they believed in following predetermined criteria. On the other hand, JJ took a different tack, regulating his races according to his own rules. No chasing allowed, and the winner is the first one to cross the finish line, regardless of whether they jumped or switched lanes. Although he found success with this rule, when he competed in bigger tournaments, such as No Prep Kings in Memphis, it became a problem. There was an initial atmosphere of healthy competition between the 405 racers and JJ's Memphis squad. As the 405 team began to critique JJ's methods, their animosity grew. They thought his squad unfairly benefited from his rules' flexibility. The 405 crew thought that strategy, not speed, was more important in some races, and didn't approve of JJ's lane-splitting policy. After first concentrating just on automobiles, the race soon began to pit racing techniques. JJ was certain that real street racing should not be regulated by rules. Sincere, raw, and exciting, that was his approach. Racing, in his view, was all about stamina, not perfection. But the distance between them grew wider as a result of the rising expectations of spectators, competitors, and event organizers. This animosity had progressed beyond merely racing, as seen by tense interactions at the races, public insults, and concealed animosities. It was now an intimate matter. After much silence, JJ DeBoss voices his mind. Famously unfiltered, JJ DeBoss has been the subject of both admiration and criticism for his statements. He never holds back his enthusiasm, whether he's defending his squad, justifying his decisions, or addressing criticism. Having said that, he has also been criticized for his passion. We can learn about JJ's mentality and the difficulties he has faced from some of his most famous remarks from his time on Street Outlaws. During his confrontation with Chris Block Gordon, JJ did not sugarcoat his genuine emotions. After becoming agitated because JJ felt Block was being impolite, JJ snapped, without delay or middleman. He went on to claim that he was only protecting his team when Block started the altercation. One of the most watched conflicts in the show's history, the incident was captured on video. According to the footage, tensions were already high before the altercation began, but spectators disagreed over responsibility. Conversations arose as a result of his issues with Chad and Jenny Larkin. During a heated confrontation at a Memphis event, JJ claimed that Lenz was trying to manipulate his squad by employing underhanded techniques. Things got even worse as a result of the subsequent legal dispute. It was easy to see how quickly things went out of hand from the video of the event, which featured passionate debates and an anxious environment. Nothing changed from JJ's point of view. Because he was afraid his team was being threatened, he reacted impulsively. JJ's well-known comment about the comment, "Street racing, not NASCAR," was meant to be taken seriously. His group adopted it as their guiding principle. He thought street racing should be completely random and that anybody can win. Some people, particularly those with more traditional racial identities, found this mindset offensive. Nevertheless, JJ remained steadfast in his convictions, believing that the raw and daring style is what truly adds excitement and authenticity to street racing. Opinions of JJ vary, as seen on Reddit and other fan forums. For being courageous, loyal, and fiercely protective of his loved ones, he has admirers within his fan base. Together with the group, his followers find his leadership inspiring and his candor invigorating. His devoted fan base appreciates his advocacy for female drivers and his efforts to keep the racing world small. Some of JJ's admirers, however, feel that he is too disorganized in his approach. They debate. In order to maintain his status as the center of attention, he manipulates the rules to his benefit and fabricates drama. Some have gone so far as to admit they didn't watch his segments because they thought the show veered too far from racing and into character feuds. JJ has always said that he behaves emotionally, and it's the reason behind all of his decisions. Without hesitation, He hurried to his wife Trisha's rescue when she was engaged in a serious accident on set. Similar instances show that racing is more than simply a game to JJ. Those closest to him are the focus. Although there are many who would think his deeds are brave or dangerous, but they're necessary to protect the people he cares about. His devotion to his Memphis squad and his willingness to take criticism for them stem from his family's priority in his life. Looking at the bigger picture, it becomes clear that there is a disagreement between two approaches. There is one group that insists on rigid adherence to race regulations, timetables, and boundaries. On the flip side, JJ's world is all about being nimble, trusting your gut, and making decisions on the go. Perhaps the showrunners should have done more to emphasize these distinctions. There are a few court decisions that even suggest the disputes on. The program was promoted as a source of amusement. Regardless of whether it was heightened for dramatic effect or not, the contrast between JJ's method and others was consistently real. Blending in isn't important to JJ. His goal, with the help of his crew, is to turn Memphis into a street racing mecca. Goes at their own pace while supporting one another. He has made it clear that he is not interested in playing by other people's rules, but in creating a new standard in which the streets, not rules, decide who wins. Despite everything that has happened, JJ Day Boss has stayed strong. His goal is not to approval from others, and is adamant on continuing down his current path. Who knows if he'll fix relationships or keep going in the same direction. Truthfulness is something that JJ would never compromise on. He is unwavering in his support of his squad. Moreover, he'll never let go of the idea that success comes from hard work. By achieving first place, regardless of the means employed. Like, subscribe, and click the next video button on your screen if you liked this one.